Hola y bienvenido a otro episodio de Gramática. Hoy vamos a hablar de los pronombres. ¿Sí? So, pronombres son palabras que reemplazan sustantivos. We're going to talk about pronouns today. These are words that replace nouns. Today we're going to focus on subject pronouns. Okay? No, these are not professional names, just words that replace nouns. And that was a lame joke, I know. So, pronombres. We usually divide these pronombres into categories. Okay, so we're first going to talk about our first person pronouns. Okay, we also like to divide these into singular and plural. Okay, so what is a first person? A first person pronoun is when you are talking about yourself, when you are a part of the mix. Okay, so our first person pronoun is going to be yo. In English, that would be I. So in Spanish, yo. If I'm talking about myself, first person, singular, and by myself, I'm going to say yo. Okay, yo. Depending on where you are, this yo might be pronounced a little bit differently. If you're in Argentina, it's going to be sho. If you're in parts of Mexico, it's going to be more like a yo. But yo, you can say it with a ya as well, yo. If I am with my friends, or if I am with my family, or if I am with anybody else, now it becomes plural, right? So it's going to be nosotros. Nosotros. Now, because I am a girl, if I am with a group of all girls, it is going to be nosotras. Okay, remember what we talked about with gender, right? We change endings based on gender. So if I am with a group of girls, and I am a girl, it's going to be nosotras. If I am with even one boy, it's going to be nosotros. Okay, so that's our first person singular, yo. First person plural, nosotros or nosotras. Moving on to the second person. Now, second person, this is when you are talking directly to somebody else. So our second person is going to be tú. Tú. Now, this one can also be different. In some areas, they use vos, like in areas of Central and South America. They'll use vos instead of tú. Okay. However, there is another one here as well, and I didn't really leave enough room, so I'm just going to make enough room here. So I can use tú if I'm in Central or South America. I might be using vos. The other way to say you is usted. And we're going to get into the difference between these two in just a little bit. So second person singular, tú, vos, or usted. Oh, so many options. Second person plural is vosotros if you're in Spain, or ustedes if you are pretty much anywhere else, right? So I'm going to put that one in parentheses as well. All right, so ustedes if I'm talking to a group. It's the equivalent of saying y'all, or if you're from up north like me, yous guys. So ustedes. Usted singular, ustedes plural. And then we have third person. So third person is when I'm not talking about myself, I'm not talking to someone else, I am talking about someone else, okay? So our third person is going to be, if it is a boy, it is going to be él, okay? Él. If it is a girl, it is ella. Ella. Él, ella. If I'm talking about a group, it would be ellos if there's even one boy in the group. If it is all girls together, it is going to be ellas. Todas chicas, somos ellas. Hay un chico, ellos. Okay? Entonces, tercera persona singular, tenemos él, ella. Tercera persona plural, tenemos ellos y ellas. So, pronombres. Why are they important? We don't actually use pronombres much in Spanish because they are inside the verb. So coming up in my next video, we're going to be talking about how pronombres aren't often used in Spanish because they blend into the verb. But you do need to know which pronouns would replace a noun so that you know how to change the verbs, okay? So like I said, we're going to be talking about that in the next video. But first, we need to be able to identify what pronouns go with what noun, all right? So for right now, we're going to focus on this last group, on this third person, okay? Because obviously, if I'm talking about myself, I'm going to use yo. And if I'm talking about somebody else plus myself, I'm going to use nosotras or nosotros. If I am a part of it, I am up here, okay? And then, as I said, we're going to talk about which one of these to use here in a second. So let's focus on the third person, okay? Third person. So our third person pronouns, we have, as we mentioned, we have él, right? We have ella. Oh, was not wanting to let me write here. We have ellos. And we have ellas. Okay? So, pronouns are used to replace any noun, not just people, and that is important to know. No solamente a las personas, sino pueden reemplazar a todo. They can replace anything, and this is important because we don't just talk about people with verbs and sentences. We talk about pretty much anything. So, for example, if I am talking about las mesas. Las mesas son grandes. Okay? Las mesas son grandes. The chairs, not the chairs, the tables. The tables are big. Las mesas son grandes. When I look at las mesas is my noun here. I have to think about which one of these pronouns up here above would replace las mesas. Okay? Now, it's not that hard to know. If I look at my word, at my noun, I have mesas, right? Remember from my last video, we talked about how this ending lets me know that this noun is plural and feminine, mesas. So I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to look at these pronouns. I'm going to figure out which one of these is plural, on the bottom, and which one of these is feminine, ellas. So the pronoun that would replace las mesas is ellas. So in my second sentence, rather than repeating las mesas, I could say ellas son redondas. Right? They are round. Ellas son redondas. Las mesas son grandes. Ellas son redondas. Okay? Now, in Spanish, I probably wouldn't even use the pronoun, but I need to know what it could be for future reference, okay? Ellas. If I am, and I can use this for anything, right? Even if I'm not talking about people, what if I'm talking about animals, right? If I have los perros ladran. Los perros ladran. The dogs bark, okay? Here's my subject, los perros. Remember we talked about in our previous video, os means that it is masculine and plural. So I come up here, which one of these is masculine and plural? Ellos, right? So that means that I could replace los perros with ellos. See? Now, this can get tricky sometimes, even if we are talking about people. If we look beyond what's actually written there. For example, mi familia es grande. Y es verdad, mi familia es grande. Tengo muchos hermanos. Mi familia es grande. So, ¿qué es mi sujeto? Mi sujeto es mi familia. Okay? Now, this says my family is big. My family has lots of people in it, right? So people look at mi familia or la familia and they automatically think, well, that's plural because families have a lot of people. But I can't look at it that way. I need to instead look at it as a word, just a word. And if I look at this word and I look at how it ends, does it end in S? ¿Tiene S? No, no hay S. No es plural. No hay ese, no es plural. So familia is actually singular, and it ends in a, which is feminine. So I need to come up here. Familia, singular, feminine, ella. So my pronoun here is actually ella. See, that would be my pronoun. There is a practice that I suggest you guys take a look at to practice this part. So now let's talk about how to say you. Okay, as I mentioned at the beginning, there are lots of different ways to say you. We have the most common, well, not the most common, we have two. And we have usted, and we have ustedes. Now, I did also mention, if you remember, I did also mention vos and vosotros. Vos is mostly used in Central and South America, and it varies region to region. Vosotros is used principally in Spain. It's also in literature, but you start to understand it as you use it. The most common ways to say you are to usted or ustedes. So what is the difference? Ustedes, the biggest difference here is ustedes is simply plural, es plural. Okay, so anytime I'm talking to more than one person and I want to say you to more than one person, I'm going to use ustedes. Okay, if I'm saying y'all, if I'm saying you guys, it would be ustedes. Okay, so now that leaves us with just tu and usted. So what is the difference? Tu is familiar. We like to call it familiar. So I'm going to use tu with people that I'm familiar with. Okay, I like to call it the friend you. Okay, so if I'm a friend with you, I'm going to use tu. Usted is more, we usually call it formal among Spanish teachers, but I like to call it the polite you. Okay, so usted you're going to use to be polite to people. So somebody you don't know well, okay, so it's an unknown person, a new person you just met, a stranger, or you are trying to show respect for that person. Sometimes too, there are groups of people that just use usted. I knew somebody when I lived in Virginia. I knew a woman and she used usted with everybody. She was from southern Mexico and she used usted with her husband, with her children, with her parents, with her family. She never once used tu that I know of. So some people just use usted. So when in doubt, use usted. So usa usted, o si es plural, or if you're plural, use ustedes. Okay? Tu, you are just going to use with people you know very well, your families, your friends. Otherwise, it can be seen in some places as an insult because it's also a way that people have used in the past to show that they are better or from a higher class than other people and they're talking down. So when in doubt, use usted. Also, when we're learning verbs, usted is the easier one to use anyway. All right, so usted or ustedes if it's plural. Hasta luego.